Hello and thanks for joining. In this episode, I will continue my story on how I built a garage under 10K by showing some basic electrical work. First, I needed to install the grounding loop. In our area, when a building is more than 30 meters away from the main electrical supply of the property, a separate grounding loop should be installed for that building. So, my house has one and garage has its own as well. For this purpose, I use this angle iron. I cut it into 3 equal pieces of roughly 1.5 meters each. I put them in the triangle shape just to mark the perimeter of the hole. Of course, this loop must be buried underground. After digging the hole and hammering in all 3 sticks, I joined them together into a triangle by welding this 40 by 4 mm steel bar. I am not a professional welder by any means, so I did not try to make the prettiest welds, but wanted to make sure they are strong. I really like welding, so I hope to get better at stick welding first and then learn some MIG or even TIG welding. It's a nice skill set to have, I think. When all 3 iron angles were welded together, I had to push this oddly shaped steel bar into the wall, just above the foundation. I made sure it is welded to one corner of the loop and is reachable from the inside of the building. This job was done prior to insulating the walls and installing the drywall. When those 2 tasks were done, I could finally install this electrical panel on the wall and hide all the wiring inside it. This bottom left 3-phase breaker is for the main inlet powering the garage. Another 3-phase breaker on the right is for the 3-phase outlet, which will be installed on the wall between the 2 windows. The left breaker at the top is for all the outlets on this wall with the windows. The next one is for the outlets on the rear wall. The third breaker controls the outlets on the opposing wall, plus the outlet for the garage door motor, which will be installed sometime later in the future. Then there is a separate breaker controlling the outlet on the outside wall. The last 2 breakers are for lighting, one for the outside lights and another one for the inside lights. If I turn this breaker off, lights outside are off as they should be. And naturally, when it's on, both outside lights are on as well. First, I connected only one outlet so I could use electrical tools inside the garage. All other breakers are off because I don't want those hanging wires to be live, for safety reasons obviously. I was spending more and more time inside the garage, so I decided to buy these LED lights. I bought 8 lamps in total. Each of them is neutral white color temperature, 4800 lumens, 40 watts. I decided to install 2 lights on every second beam. I skipped this first beam, it is too close to the wall. If I will mount some shelves or cabinets later, those lamps would be obstructed. So I started with the next beam, skipped 1 beam, and went to the next one, and so on. I hoped that lamps would fit on the last beam on each side of the gate. And they did. I left wires earlier next to every beam I wanted to install the lights on. At that moment I actually was working with mudding the drywall, but as I had to wait for mud to dry, I decided to spend that time on hanging the lamps. So first I installed the lamps on both sides of the gate. It was a perfect fit actually. All the lamps have these connectors and only 2 wires, live and neutral, so no ground wire. This meant that I had to leave the incoming ground wires isolated and connect only 2 wires. These lamps are made from plastic, so I guess that's the reason why they don't need grounding. Here you can see I measured 50 centimeters from the wall and marked a line with a Sharpie. The lamp will be mounted a bit further from the wall, because when wall cabinets or shelves will be in place, I don't want the light to be covered by them. Then I screwed 2 metal brackets which will hold the lamp in place. Measurements didn't have to be exact, so I just eyeballed the places for these brackets. I connected the wire connectors to the lamps so I don't lose them later. Then I fixed the lamp on those brackets and the lamp was in place. I rinsed and repeated the same process for all 8 lamps and they were finally safe in their spots. I like the sleek look of these lamps, they are not hanging low and it would be hard to damage them. Also, their diffuser is made from soft plastic, so it would not break if hit with something. I wired everything with Vago connectors, so I will be able to replace these lamps anytime if one or more of them would stop working. When the lamps were in place, it was time to put the switches and power them. This was a precise and a bit challenging task for a non-professional like me. I was using over-the-top switches, they are not hidden inside the wall. I had to cramp all the wires inside these small boxes, but at the end it worked nicely. I fitted 2 switches on the left and one on this front wall. I managed not to break anything and they looked quite sleek. Then I tested this switch on the left to see if the lamp above the entrance door was working, and the switch for the garage door lighting, and they both worked as expected. After mounting and wiring all 3 light switches, I moved to connecting the wall outlets. Each Vago connector has 3 wires in it. One wire is going to the electrical panel, another one is powering the next outlet, and the third one is powering this particular outlet. The same principle is for the green ground wire and brown live wire, so 9 wires in total in one box. After fitting this first outlet, I had to connect 7 more. And then I had this 3-phase outlet with 5 connectors waiting to be mounted between the windows to this 5-wire cable. It has its own separate 3-phase breaker inside the electrical panel. Here you can see this outlet mounted and connected. I was not happy that it had to be mounted lower than the rest of the outlets, but that's because the hole for the wire is at the top of the box. I will maybe put it sideways or even upside down, if that will be an obstacle when I will be putting workbenches and other stuff next to the wall later. In this shot you can see how I stripped the wire shield. I pre-cut the wire around and also along from that cut to the end, making sure the knife blade doesn't cut through completely, and then you can simply peel it off as a banana. And that's it for this episode. Thanks for watching, please like this video and subscribe to my channel, and see you in the next one. Cheers!